If you think investing is hard, try watching grown adults lose fortunes using the same mistakes I stopped making at 22. Fact 1. The shiny object trap. Listen closely, kid, because this one has bankrupted more bright-eyed investors than recessions ever did. The shiny object trap is when you chase whatever investment is trending. Crypto today, AI shoes tomorrow, Martian real estate the day after. It's the financial version of a crow spotting a piece of aluminum foil and abandoning its actual food to go investigate. People don't invest based on research. They invest based on whatever their cousin Dave bragged about at a barbecue. I once watched a man sell a perfectly good dividend portfolio because a hot new startup promised to revolutionize toaster technology. Toasters. He lost 40 grand and still had to buy a new toaster. See, real wealth isn't built by sprinting toward every flashing light. It's built by sitting still, doing your homework, and ignoring the financial carnival barkers. Every shiny object you chase pulls you further away from the thing you actually need: discipline. And discipline, kid, is the only investment that never crashes. Fact 2. The "I'll wait for the perfect moment" trap. Ah yes, the favorite trap of every overthinker who swears they're being careful while missing every opportunity life throws at them. This obsession with the perfect moment to invest, the perfect price, the perfect economy, the perfect lunar alignment, is how people stay broke with astonishing consistency. I've seen folks study a stock for 5 years, waiting for the magical dip that never comes, like they're trying to decode ancient runes instead of buying shares. Meanwhile, the patient fools who just bought the darn thing are already cashing dividends. Here's what your old millionaire uncle will tell you for free. Perfect timing is a bedtime story told to adults afraid to act. Markets don't give you invitations, they give you windows. And windows don't stay open long. Sometimes they slam shut right on your fingers while you're still drafting your 37th pros and cons list. The wealthy don't wait for the perfect moment. They act, then adjust. The broke wait, then regret. Fact 3. The "I know what I'm doing" trap. This one's my personal favorite because nothing empties a wallet faster than unearned confidence. Every beginner investor eventually catches a fever, the "I know what I'm doing" fever, right after their first lucky win. One good trade, one random stock that miraculously goes up, and suddenly they're strutting around like they're the secret love child of Warren Buffett and a roulette wheel. They stop researching, stop asking questions, stop listening to advice, and start making decisions based on pure ego. I once mentored a lad who turned $2,000 into $2,600 by accident. Pure market luck. Within a week, he'd convinced himself he had a natural instinct for the charts. Within a month, he'd lost everything and borrowed money to double down on the comeback. The comeback, of course, never came. Confidence didn't ruin him. Overconfidence did. Here's the hard truth from an old man who's watched this cycle for decades. The market rewards humility and punishes arrogance with interest. Fact 4. The free advice from broke people trap. If there's one thing the world has in unlimited supply, it's financial advice from people who can't pay their own electric bill. Everyone's a market genius when they're spending your money. Your friends, your coworkers, your Uncle Jimmy who hasn't held a job since rotary phones. All of them magically transform into investment profits the moment you mention stocks. And beginners fall for it every time because free advice feels comfortable, familiar, safe. But let me tell you something only age and a 7-figure portfolio will teach you. Bad advice is the most expensive thing you can ever buy, especially when it's free. I watched a young man ignore an actual financial analyst and instead follow his roommate's gut feeling about a meme coin. The analyst had data, charts, and a 3-page explanation. The roommate had a hoodie and confidence. Guess who he listened to? Guess who still owes his parents money? Listen, kid. If you wouldn't take fitness advice from someone who wheezes walking upstairs, don't take investment tips from someone who still pays overdraft fees. Fact 5. The emotional investing trap. Here's a secret most beginners don't want to hear. Your feelings are terrible financial advisors. Fear, greed, excitement, panic, every one of them will steer you straight into a ditch. I've watched perfectly intelligent people turn into emotional toddlers the moment their portfolio dips by 2%. They sell too early because they're scared. buy too late because they're jealous, and hold garbage investments because they're sentimental. Sentimental, as if the market cares about their feelings. I once knew a man who kept a sinking stock for 3 years because it just felt like it would rebound. That's not investing, that's romantic delusion. Meanwhile, another fellow bought a stock because the logo gave him a good vibe. A vibe. He wasn't building wealth, he was adopting a pet rock. Listen here, emotions belong in relationships and holiday speeches, not in your brokerage account. Money flows to the investor who can stay calm when everyone else is screaming. Fact 6. The too good to be true. Trap. Sit down for this one, kid, because it's the oldest scam in the book, and yet people still fall for it like it's a Black Friday sale on common sense. The too good to be true trap is what happens when an investment promises sky-high returns with zero risk. And your brain, instead of screaming run, whispers, well, maybe. I've seen grown adults, functional bill-paying adults, hand their savings to strangers because they said magic phrases like guaranteed, secret algorithm, or exclusive opportunity. I knew one man who invested in a risk-free gold mine that turned out to be a shed with spray-painted rocks. Another bought into a private crypto vault that was literally just a guy with a laptop and Wi-Fi from his mother's basement. Here's the truth from an old millionaire who's heard every pitch in the world. High returns always come with high risk. No exceptions. If someone tells you otherwise, they're not offering you an investment. They're offering you a lesson, an expensive one. Fact 7. The portfolio that looks like a yard sale. Trap. Here's a trap that catches almost every beginner who discovers investing the way a kid discovers a candy store, by grabbing everything in sight. They buy a little crypto, a little real estate trust, 3 random tech stocks, 1 biotech company they don't understand, and some diversified ETF they picked because it had a pretty chart. Before they know it, their portfolio looks less like a wealth-building plan and more like a yard sale run by someone who's never said no in their life. I once met a young investor with 47 different positions and not a clue what any of them actually did. He told me, "It's diversified." No, lad, that's not diversification. That's clutter with a ticker symbol. A real portfolio should work together like gears in a machine, not like junk thrown in a box, hoping something valuable is hiding under the old socks. Take it from an old miser with a vault full of hard-earned lessons. Owning everything is the fastest way to understand nothing. Fact 8. The I'll fix it later. Trap. Ah, yes, the legendary procrastinator's trap. The one responsible for more financial disasters than bear markets and bad luck combined. I'll fix it later is what people say right before their portfolio burns down like a forgotten pot on the stove. They set up an investment, forget to rebalance it, ignore the fees, ignore the news, ignore the performance, and then act shocked when it turns into a financial fossil. I once knew a man who opened a retirement account at 25, proudly funded it with $500, and then didn't check it again for 18 years. When he finally logged in, the money hadn't grown. It had basically evaporated in fees, inflation, and the gentle decay of neglect. He treated his future the way some people treat houseplants. If it dies, it dies. Here's the old millionaire truth. Your investments don't grow because you planted them. They grow because you maintain them. Ignore them long enough, and they'll return the favor. Fact 9. The following the crowd straight off a cliff. Trap. Let me tell you something, kid. The crowd is almost always late, loud, and wrong. By the time they see it, masses finally discover an investment. The smart money has already gotten in, taken profits, and gone home for tea. But beginners? Oh, they sprint toward whatever everyone else is screaming about, as if yelling "to the moon" ever made anything actually go up. I watched perfectly rational adults pour their savings into a stock because everyone at work is buying it. Brilliant. Because when I think of financial expertise, I definitely think of Kevin from accounting, who still can't figure out the office printer. During the dot-com bubble, I saw a man buy shares of a company he couldn't even pronounce, simply because the chart looked like everyone else's chart. He lost half his net worth and still blamed bad luck. Here's the seasoned truth from an old miser who's seen every cycle twice. If the crowd is excited, you're already too late. If the crowd is panicking, you might finally be on time. Fact 10. The fix it with more money. Trap. This trap, kid, is the quiet assassin of portfolios. The belief that if an investment starts sinking, you can magically redeem it by throwing more money at it. Beginners call it averaging down. Old millionaires like me call it what it truly is, digging faster because you don't like the size of the hole. I once watched a young man triple down on a failing stock because he insisted it was too low to drop further. That stock proved him wrong for 9 straight months. His portfolio didn't look like an investment strategy. It looked like a slow-motion car crash he kept pouring gasoline on. The danger here is pride. People treat bad investments like stubborn pets. With enough money and love, it'll behave eventually. No, it won't. Bad companies don't magically transform because you donated your savings to their suffering. Here's the seasoned truth. A mistake gets cheaper the earlier you correct it, and catastrophically expensive the longer you feed it. Fact 11. The "but it worked once" trap. This one. The trap built from nostalgia, delusion, and a complete misunderstanding of probability. The "but it worked once" trap is what happens when an investor takes a single lucky outcome and treats it like a universal law. They cling to that one win like a shipwrecked sailor to driftwood, ignoring the ocean of losses around them. I knew a fellow who made a killing buying a tiny tech stock in the early 2000s. Pure luck. He bought it because he liked the name. For the next 20 years, he kept repeating the same strategy. Find a random small company, throw money at it, and pray lightning would strike again. It never did. His portfolio looked like a museum exhibit titled "A Study in Repeated Bad Decisions." Here's what old millionaires understand. One win doesn't prove a strategy. It proves chance. Real strategies work consistently, not accidentally. The market doesn't care what worked for you once. It cares what works reliably. Fact 12. The "I'll learn as I go" trap. This one, kid, is the financial equivalent of jumping into the ocean because you once watched someone swim on television. The "I'll learn as I go" trap is what beginners say when they're too impatient to study and too proud to admit they're unprepared. They tell themselves, experience is the best teacher. Sure, if you enjoy being schooled by pain, losses, and fees that multiply faster than rabbits in spring. I once knew a young man who opened a trading account without knowing what a bid-ask spread was. He clicked buttons like he was playing a video game, except in this game, every wrong move cost him grocery money. At one point, he accidentally bought options thinking they were cheaper stocks. When they expired worthless, he said, "Well, I guess that's part of learning." No, lad, that's part of ignoring the lesson you should have learned before clicking anything. Here's the rich old truth. Education is cheaper than mistakes. Always has been, always will be. Fact 13. The get-rich speed run trap, and here it is, kid. The crown jewel of financial stupidity. The trap that has swallowed more fortunes, dreams, and retirement plans than every recession combined. The get-rich speed run. This is where beginners decide wealth is something you rush, like beating a video game instead of something you build like a fortress. They want shortcuts, hacks, secrets, loopholes, anything except patience and discipline, which is exactly why they never get rich. I once knew a lad who tried 6 fast wealth systems in a single year. Day trading, flipping collectibles, crypto hops, leverage trading, drop shipping, even NFTs with cartoon tap-dancing raccoons. Every month he'd declare, "This is the one." And every month he ended up a little poorer, a little angrier, and a lot more allergic to reality. Here's what an old millionaire learned the hard, expensive way. Fast money is fragile. Slow money is unstoppable. You don't sprint to wealth, you grind, compound, and outlive everyone who quit early. Now then, which trap have you fallen into, lad? Still think you're smarter than the market? Tell me, which trap drained your wallet the fastest?